Stay tuned, everyone. We're about to begin the 2021 Smail Motorcars Virtual Auto Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2021 Mercedes-Benz Auto Show presented by Smail Mercedes-Benz in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Today we will be connecting you directly to our showroom floor with a trained product specialist and a live cameraman. We will answer all your questions and perform live demonstrations on your favorite Mercedes-Benz vehicles. Without any further ado, let's start the broadcast with your hostess, Taylor Smail.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Smail Motorcars Virtual Auto Show. My name's Taylor, and I'm going to be coming along with you guys this afternoon as we check out all the cool and exciting things that Mercedes-Benz has going on this year. A quick reminder before we get started, don't forget to go ahead and like and share this video. We are live, so we can answer all of your questions in real time and make sure that we cater the show that it will be exactly what it is that you want to see. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our product specialists, Scott Powell and Anthony Povinale. Hey, guys.
Hey there.
Hold on, Taylor.
How you guys doing today?
Good.
Excellent. Glad to be here.
I was going to say, this is our last one we're doing. Shall we say we saved the best for last?
The best or nothing?
I like it.
Yeah. A quick reminder for everyone at home before we get started. We are all in separate locations. We have an on-site videographer that's going to walk around the vehicles for us. So we're taking the necessary COVID precautions. But so guys, 2021 is a big year for Mercedes-Benz. What are you guys most excited for?
Well, I'd have to say I'm most excited about the E-Class being the Motor Trend Car of the Year. That's not just one car. That's an entire class of cars. That's 10 cars for Car of the Year. 4 sedans, 2 coupes, 2 convertibles, and 2 station wagons. That's the one thing that has me really pumped for 2021.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge accomplishment.
So much is new. Benz has done an awesome job in terms of keeping everything fresh. So many cars have been updated. There's been like so much in terms of the redesigns and the refreshes. So there's a lot of new technology, a lot of new features, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. Did we want to start with maybe the GLA 250?
Sure.
Awesome
Or
car.
GLA 250.
Awesome car. Mercedes did a full redesign for 2021. This is a vehicle that Mercedes really wanted to kind of take into the next generation in terms of all the technology, modeled in large part off of the A-Class from over in Europe, which we of course now have the A sedan that came out a couple years ago. Mercedes was able to incorporate all the new Mercedes-Benz user experience technology, a lot of new design language, which is really cool. You'll definitely notice that really full body all around the car has been updated and changed. Benz did a lot of really cool changes with the new lights, the new wheel designs. Really rose the height in the back of the car a lot, which is awesome. That was definitely a big thing for them. So it's a lot roomier. And one of the really cool things that probably not a lot of people realize is even though it's bigger inside, the vehicle is actually an inch shorter. So it's giving you a ton of new features, a ton of space, a lot more room inside, and it still has the small footprint. So nice and fun to drive, easy to drive, great on gas. It's just a phenomenal vehicle.
And one of the ways they were able to give us more space inside, if you think about this in a car that has the same footprint, what they did is they moved the wheels out to the corners and raised the roof a good 4 inches. That's by itself creates a whole lot more interior space inside the vehicle. It's phenomenally larger than its predecessor.
You have an inch less of length, but you have over 4 inches more of interior length. So you're gaining a lot more space. One of the big areas that a lot of folks were, I think, after a little bit more room was in the back seat. And they've been able to kind of update the back of it with a 40%, 20%, 40% split, which makes it a little bit easier to kind of like run items through. You have a new optional slider in the second row, which is kind of cool. A lot of things that you'd expect in a larger vehicle that they've been able to incorporate in are compact, which is pretty neat. So it definitely gives you a lot of room. One of the nice things too that freed up space was in the front. So as you heard Scott saying about like changing on the wheelbase on the outside, in the inside, the new Mercedes-Benz user experience has allowed a little bit more of kind of a flat display layout, which has given a lot more space to the front seat passengers. So with that, you now have a little bit more room to the back and then the trunk that you see on camera as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing Anthony touched on was the LED lighting throughout for the headlights and the taillights. And I've watched several of these, and all of our coworkers are talking about LED lights. That's become like a big hot new thing in the industry. But nobody really explained why LEDs are important. The LED lights, and we've been using them in one form or another since the 2013 CLS. The reason we do them is because the LEDs create a color of light closer to natural sunlight. And what that does is project further and allows you to see more of the road and even the corners, so you can see animals or pedestrians or whatever in a further greater distance while you're driving, which gives you more confidence, and you can actually drive the car a little bit faster than you normally would at nighttime. And even the LED tail lamps that people think these are cool, they're pretty. Well, they are all those things, but the LEDs actually project that red color out further. So for safety purposes, people can see you at a greater distance and give you more room.
Oh, wow.
There's always a practical aspect and a safety aspect with everything that Mercedes-Benz does. It's never just for glitz.
One of the big things with the safety too, Benz was actually first on, and you're starting to see it in more and more cars now, is the idea too with just even something as little as like your turn signal. So your turn signal with a Mercedes, with every Mercedes, it's not just on the lamp, it's actually everywhere. So it's the tail light, it's the headlight, it's the lamp, everything's LED and everything engages. So drivers, whether they're on the side of you, they're in front of you, they're directly behind you, they can always see what you're doing on the road. So one of the biggest things with Mercedes from a safety standpoint, whether it be our smallest size vehicle or our largest size vehicle, is to focus on a lot of the safety prior to anything even happening. So some of the best safety stuff is the stuff you never really have to think about or never really have to use, and that's a big part of it. Starting with something as simple as lighting, going down to seat technology, and that's really a big thing you find too, is like from a safety standpoint, things like the collision assist. It started with the collision prevention assist, and you look at active braking, adaptive braking, some of these different systems standard throughout the Mercedes-Benz lineup, which is awesome. There's a lot of brands to this day. You need to add an extra package. You need to add some driver's assistance option. You need to get into something else to have a lot of safety equipment. With Mercedes, safety standard. And that's really, really an important thing with this brand, is looking at both from an engineering standpoint and then some of the safety functions that they give you. A lot of the technology is built around safety.
And that goes back to 1938 too. But if you look at what Brian's showing us there, down there, that's tied in with the MBUX system, the Mercedes-Benz user experience, and that includes a touchpad or a touch screen. But the reason that touchpad is still there is, for years, Mercedes drivers were always trained to reach for something in the center console. That is a swipe touchpad with haptic feedback. That's for the folks that would rather use that than touch the touch screen. If you go up a little bit, you'll see the touchpad or the touch screen on there up on the dashboard. It's all one big piece of glass with the premium package. So, you have your instruments in front of the driver. Of course, the infotainment center is over there. You can use the touchpad, or you can use the Hey Mercedes feature and use natural speech patterns to ask the car to do things. Not only just change the radio stations, but turn heated seats on, change your temperature. The idea is comfort and convenience at 70 miles an hour. If you want to change something inside the cabin, you can do it with a voice command and not have to take your eyes off the road. Again, cool and techy, but it's all about safety and driver performance.
I was gonna say, that's huge. It's all one screen.
That's all one big piece of glass. The right-hand side is the touch screen. The left-hand side are your instruments.
So as we work our way through a little bit of the lineup, you're going to notice that with our A class, what you see there is pretty typical. It's the 10.25-inch displays. So you have two embedded in a one pane of glass. As we move up in size today, you're going to notice some changes in the size of the screen. So you're actually going to find that screen keeps getting larger, but a similar layout. Also, something else in addition to that touchpad that Scott touched on, you're going to notice a new wheel. So that new steering wheel design is going to be pretty typical now, that you're going to find on a lot of today's vehicles in the Mercedes lineup. They've eliminated the cruise control stock. They've moved it up there to the new generation wheel. Those touch sensors on the steering wheel, very, 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 very cool. Gives you a different way to operate the system. So you have sort of like a chiclet style trackpad on both sides, so it can read swipe gestures. You can actually control your analog vehicle information, like your gauge data, things like that, on the left side, and control the main screen with the right controller. So it's pretty awesome. It just gives you kind of another way to be able to control the car without even taking your hands off the wheel.
In case you're wondering where the gear shift is, across the line, it's not down there in the center console anymore. It is just to the right of the steering wheel. The idea is to have it right out of your way. So you touch it immediately with your fingertips. You don't even need to take your hands off the steering wheel. Just reach out with your right hand, click it down for drive, click it up for reverse, touch the button on the end for park. And if you forget to put the car in park, just open the door. It puts the car in park automatically. Again, safety, convenience.
Mm-hmm. And that just opens up the middle so much more.
Exactly. More room for cup holders and buttons and the things that are right there at your fingertips that would be taken up by a big clunky gear shift.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cool from an ergonomic standpoint. And things that you're finding that Mercedes has been doing for a lot of years now on their cars, having the seat controls up on the door panel, having the shifter, as Scott touched on, up there on the steering column. These are things that are starting to find their way into a lot of new cars now. And these are things that Mercedes has been doing for a lot of years. It's definitely something that you're going to find common with a lot of the things that we talk about today is Benz is big on the innovation. So you're going to find a lot of technology that hits Mercedes first, and other brands kind of get their hands on a Mercedes and say, oh, well, like, that's kind of cool. I think that we should copy that. It's definitely kind of a neat thing with Benz.
You saying that, I was actually just thinking that after doing this all week. A lot of these things that we're talking about, I'm noticing a lot of other vehicles are starting to do them, but the first time you ever saw them were with Mercedes-Benz, even from the adjusting your seat on the side of the door, having the, opening up the middle console. Just, you're right. That's literally what I was thinking as we were talking about all of this.
Benz is one of those brands that everyone looks to. It's one of those things where there's Benz DNA in a lot of cars. Some of it is stuff that's under the hood and that's hidden. A lot of like that safety tech that we were talking about. But then there's a lot of it too that now you're starting to see some more noticeable, like, visual stuff that's also kind of gets borrowed and over time. And it's kind of the best form of flattery for the brand is when people are copying you. So.
This color, this blue, I love it. Do you know what color that is?
Denim blue. So that's actually one of the new colors for this year. Something that they changed on a few of the models is they added some new colors to the color palette. So you're going to notice kind of a bit of a different array depending on the model we talk about today. This color is actually only offered on A-class vehicles. So the A sedan, GLA being in that A-class, CLA is the four-door coupe variant. So anything in the A-class.
Okay. So after the GLA, the next size up, that would be the GLC.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct, and that is our most popular model in this part of the world. I did not check to see if it's our most popular model in the United States, but in this part of the world, that's your most popular one. It seems to check all the boxes for size, maneuverability, price point, and what you really get with the car. It has been on the market since 2016, replacing the old square boxy GLK, and there's really no stopping that car. Redesigned for 2020, again, full LED lamps. You can look at that one there. Get a little closer on those. Again, LEDs project that light out further, better quality of light, and let you see further at night. Of course, you can also look over there. All your turn signals and running lights are built into that one headlamp design too.
This was actually one of the first newer generation Mercedes to kind of incorporate a new design language. So what you're going to find with Mercedes is they were trying to kind of encapsulate a lot of the sedan body lines, kind of like some of the lines that you see on the sedans and the coupes and things like that. It was one of the first redesigns that we had where they kind of got away from sort of like the boxiness, kind of like as Scott had touched on the GLK. And you're starting to see this more kind of round beveled lines that you're going to also see on the larger size that we're going to cover, the GLE. Mercedes really not only wanting to make the vehicle a lot more car-like in terms of how it drives, but in terms of how it looks. So you're getting a little bit of that. And it's kind of funny because if you think about it in a lot of ways, this is a large kind of almost like a derivative of how Mercedes does wagons over in Europe. And over here being a little bit more of kind of an SUV market, Mercedes wanted to kind of encapsulate a lot of that wagon practicality and basically take a C-Class car and lift it. So when you essentially took the C-Class, which for years was our #1 seller at Mercedes, about a year into its run, the GLC became the new #1 seller in the States. So it's really given everyone all that benefit of the C-Class, all the luxury of the C-Class, and hiked it up on stilts. So it's great for a lot of markets. Like whether you're talking, a great vehicle to drive in the wintertime or a great vehicle from a hauling standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about the 4MATIC there, Scott?
I was about to see which one of us is going to jump on that. I think Brian was going to jump in the back of the car. Anything we show you today, and anything you see at our dealership, unless it is a Roadster, is going to be available in 4MATIC all-wheel drive. We do not stock anything here that's not. 4MATIC is our trade name for all-wheel drive, and on most of our models, most of the upper C-Class and above, that is a full-time all-wheel drive system. So imagine this: you take the car, take it in the back of the shop, lift it up, put it in gear. All four wheels are turning all the time, and they're going to adjust electronically to give you the most torque you need in power at any given time, regardless of what kind of driving conditions that you're in. I know a lot of folks will say, "Oh, I don't want to come look at a car on a bad wintry day." That's the best time to come drive a Mercedes. Because let me ask you, the car you're driving now, how does it do in bad weather? Well, take the Mercedes out and drive it as you would, and you'll be very impressed. I drive a C-Class sedan every day over the mountain, and I drive it at highway speed. Unless it's really icy, and I'll slow it down to a reasonable speed, but nothing ever gets in my way. Anthony drives a similar car to mine, and nothing ever gets in his way either. You get a tremendous feeling of power and control when you're driving a Mercedes-Benz. Anybody can make a nice looking car with bells and whistles and stuff, but the real proof of the pudding is take the car out, put it on the road, and drive it. There's nothing else on the road that feels like a Mercedes-Benz.
One of the big things that you find too with this size and larger at Mercedes is, from a C-Class standpoint and larger, this all-wheel drive system is not torque variable. So this is actually a true all-wheel drive where at all times all four wheels are independent. So you don't have an all-wheel drive system here that's kind of more like a retroactive all-wheel drive where the car is only switching into all-wheel drive whenever it needs to. This is actually an all-wheel drive system that's always all-wheel drive. So you have a very, very proactive system here where all four wheels can individually engage. You can lose traction on 3 out of the 4 wheels and still stay in the direction that you're trying to go. So definitely something big, especially in this area, not only with snow and ice, but also with rain. So you're going to have a lot less fear of, hydroplaning and sliding and stuff like that when you have the 4MATIC. So it's definitely useful in a lot of ways.
How you said, Scott, that is so true. I think people do think that they should wait for a sunny day to come and test drive a car, but I wouldn't have even thought of that. You should try it when, the conditions are what you're worried about.
There's an old commercial that was never really aired in the United States because it's a little on the racy side. It's called Not in This Weather. You can find it on YouTube. It was when 4MATIC was first introduced. But if you do a little search on that, Mercedes-Benz 4MATIC Not in This Weather, it's a funny European commercial that really demonstrates the capability of a 4MATIC Mercedes-Benz.
So we were talking a little bit about the tech on the GLA. So you'll notice see how the display size, it's changed a little bit now in the C. So you have 2 pieces of glass. You actually have a little bit more of a display area though. So you still have the kind of ultra wide screen center console that you saw from the A, but you now actually have a fully digital instrument cluster, which, although embedded, it's more of like what Mercedes would consider almost more like a pilot screen. That's a 12.3. So you're getting into the larger displays. You're also changing the design of the console a little. So this is the waterfall console, which was debuted in the C-Class back in 2015. So you're actually going to notice a little bit of a different layout there as well, just to give you kind of a feel for how it changes as you go up in size.
And one little side note about that interior design. Anthony mentioned it was introduced on the 2015 C300. And really the GLC and the C are part of the same class, just in different body styles. The auto raters for that year said that interior was the best interior under $60,000. Gave it that distinction. Wow. Gave it that distinction.
And then it looks like there's a big storage, in the middle there.
That's where your cup holders are. Some models, I know, European, some still have an ashtray. Others, depending upon how they're equipped, will have, that one has the ashtray. Some will have a phone charging pad. And if you want a more clean look, just fold that down. And since he's on such a tight, there you go, such a tight picture on that. Go back in there again. I want to point something out. Again, your quality. That is the wood grain, the black ash wood grain. Go ahead and close it for me again. That is one piece of wood that's been laser cut for that car. Notice how the wood grain from panel to panel transfers through. It's not plastic. It's mounted on plastic for weight, but notice how the wood grain goes from panel to panel on that whole waterfall. And every car is going to be like that, except since it is wood grain, everyone's going to be just a little bit different.
Same thing on the door panels too. If you want a high point on the actual door itself, you're going to notice that that's all actual wood. Again, with the laser etching that Scott mentioned, that's a big thing with Mercedes, is that those individual panels are the same, that everything is going to match appropriately, that everything's laser etched. It's a lot of that kind of quality of construction too that you expect, and that's, I think, a big part of what goes into kind of like how Scott was mentioning about the design, especially the interior of the C-Class. From the time it got updated in 15 to the GLC coming out in 16, the C-Class really as a whole has been kind of at the forefront of interior design for that space. It's definitely where a lot of manufacturers are trying to kind of borrow and get up to the same level of the interior for having a car around like $50,000 and have that level of interior is pretty impressive.
And you really can't touch it for where we are now, but you won't find any hard plastics in the interior of any of our cars. They're all soft touch materials. So top of the dashboard, top of the doors, you can touch them with your fingers, give them a poke. There's always that little bit of give. It's that feeling of better materials throughout the cabin of the car. If you noticed also, when you have the door open, your heated seat controls are right there on the doors, and that grate over the speaker, that's because that has the upgraded Burmester sound system. When we first started putting in our cars, or at least on the S-Class, that's our big flagship sedan, in 2014, and Burmester goes back, I think, back to the 1970s in Berlin. So it goes back that long ago. A Burmester home stereo system sits on a table with some speakers and a head unit, and it costs $30,000, and you're getting it for $850 in a car.
Scott, I think you actually did a video for us on the GLC 300. Sure. Maybe we can show our viewers that real quick.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Pennsylvania. Here today, we're going to show you a little bit about the 2021 Mercedes-Benz GLC 300. One of the first things you're going to notice about the exterior of the car is the LED headlamps and tail lamps. LED lights give you much clearer definition, particularly at night. They project a color of light much closer to natural sunlight, and that enables you to see a lot further while you're driving at night, so you can drive a little bit faster. In the back, the LED tail lamps shine brighter and project that red color behind you, so the drivers behind you see you a lot sooner and can therefore react. You'll also notice the nice sleek styling of the car all the way back. The GLC has been on the market since 2019, and we've made a few little updates and adjustments to the overall look of the car. But again, it sits up a little bit higher, it is sleek, it is smooth, and it is our #1 selling vehicle in this part of the world. Let's have a look at the inside of the car. The color, of course, is black. The material in the upholstery is MB Tex. It is not leather. It is a man-made material that wears like iron, and you don't have to treat it like you would normally a cowhide leather. 2021 marks something new for the GLC. A lot of things that were optional features, things like heated seats and the parking assist, are now standard features. So you're finding a car that has a similar base price but is a little bit better equipped. Now in 2020, and this course carries forward into 2021, we now have the new MBUX interface. It is a touchscreen, and it does also react to natural voice commands. You can ask it to turn your heated seats on. If the car has ambient lighting, change the color. You can have it adjust the temperature. You can have it change the radio stations. If the car has the multimedia package with navigation, you can ask it to navigate to places without knowing the specific address. For example, one of my favorite things I do with customers is ask the car to take us to the Empire State Building. Now, we don't actually go on that ride, but it knows where it is. It knows specific places, so you don't need to go look up an address ahead of time. You can say, take us to Red Lobster, or the Live Casino, or Heinz Field. It knows all those places, and it makes it so much easier to use. Now, one of the optional features that this particular GLC 300 has is the logo projectors. Some people call them puddle lights, but when you open the door, it shines the Mercedes-Benz logo directly on the ground in front of you. Now, not only is it kind of cool and very trendy, but it does also serve a practical purpose. How many times at night where you weren't exactly sure what you were stepping in? Well, now you can tell. Well, thanks again for watching. You can take a closer look at our dealership at 5053 Route 30 in Greensburg, or check us out online at smailmercedesbenz.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to have an extra face. We have Joe Suto, our sales manager, joining us. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I wanted to ask you some questions about Bud Smail Motorcars specifically. I wanted to ask if you could tell us a little bit about Bud Smail Motorcars.
I'd be happy to. Well, the Smail family acquired the Mercedes franchise in the fall of 1982. So we've had it for that long. The new facility that we're in, as you can see on the video, we did that. It's called an auto house, and we moved into the new building back in 2015. So it's been a little over 5 years that we've had the auto house facility.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
Oh, it is. We could fit about 11 cars here on the showroom floor, and we also expanded the service department too. So it's not just all the showroom. We actually added on another wing of service as well. So since we have such a big showroom, you know, we're going to have more cars to service. So even service is expanded now.
Speaking of service, maybe you can tell us a little bit about once a customer purchases a Mercedes-Benz, what can they expect with the service afterwards?
Oh, no problem. Well, after you buy it, a couple things are going to happen. As far as our service goes, our service is absolutely great. We offer some things like pickup and delivery. So if you buy the car from us, we'll come out to you, we'll pick up the vehicle, and we'll leave you a loaner car. Or if you want to bring it in, we can give you a loaner car then. As far as loaner cars go, we have 32 loaner cars that are available for you. So you could sit in our waiting room, or you could even go to the mall or something like that, or the casino that just opened up, or we could deliver you out a car. So you have free pickup and delivery. We do wash your car and vacuum your car every time it's in for service. As also, we have a product concierge here. He's Calodro. He's very popular. So whenever you buy the vehicle, not only does Anthony and Scott go over the vehicle with you, but we have Calodro, a product concierge, and his job is to just make sure that you understand the vehicle. We have an app on all the new cars now, and some of the pre-owned cars where you have a remote start. And you could even put in the address to wherever you're going for the navigation in the app. So that works out really nice. We also do really encourage you to come back for what we call a second delivery. So after you buy the car, that's a big day. You're spending a lot of time here in the store looking at cars, buying cars, doing paperwork. So we want you to come back again and again so we can go over the car with you and go over that tech so that you feel really good and comfortable with it. We can do that for you as well. And just to give you an idea like about the level of service that we offer here, I'm looking at on my screen here our Google reviews. For instance, I'm looking and there's 433 Google reviews. So to give you an idea how that works, every time you have a transaction with us, whether you buy a car or service your car, we email you out a link to do a Google review. So everybody that does business with us is going to get a request to do a Google review. And right now our rating is 4.7 stars out of 5. So and that's 433 reviews. Just the first one I'm looking at, satisfied customer. They have an awesome staff, very nice and sweet. I look forward to coming back for any repairs needed. They just go on and on like that. They say we connect on a personal level. Smail Mercedes, hands down, the best place to purchase your Mercedes. Troy Lee helped me design and order my new CLA AMG 45 and kept me updated on the build process every step of the way. So they just go on like that. So some awesome customer service. And just to give you an idea about the sales staff that we have here, we have over 115 years of combined experience.
Oh, wow.
On the team here. And very little turnover. Everybody here has been here for at probably at least 3 years, going on 40 for at least one of our salesperson people. And just to give you an idea too, besides being, we're the Westmoreland County Mercedes store, we also touch into Somerset and County, Cambria County, Franklin County, Fayette County. But we do a lot as far as helping the community, or trying to. We have Troops First Foundation, which the Smails, we donate money towards that every May, and we give a portion of the proceeds to the Troop First, David Faraday's Troop First Foundation. And then we also work with McGee Hospital as far as the adding some money and support for breast cancer awareness, and a lot of different charities for that as well. And then we have a really big food drive that we do, the Smail 500. So there's a whole lot of philanthropy that we do here at the dealership, on the dealership level, that all the salespeople and service and everybody contribute in, as well as customers.
I'll say you guys have such a great team down there. I want to thank you, Joe, for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. So next we're going to dive into, I guess, the step above, the next larger one, which is the GLE 350.
That would be the one. That is the car that kind of grabbed a hold of the market here for the larger SUV, and kind of grabbed it by the horns and wouldn't let it go. That car was introduced, I believe, as the fourth generation of the GLE class. Originally started out as the ML, that was renamed in 2016 with that mid-body refresh, the GLE. And the reason they did that, they wanted all the SUVs to follow a certain naming convention, tying it in with the counterpart sedan, GL, Geländewagen, Light, and then E-Class. So that's how that all ties in. That car came out in 2019 as a 2020 model, and it has been in high demand ever since. I know we're talking about GLE 350, but I will tell you that all these, first talked about classes. There's other engine choices you can get with those, and of course that gives you more power, of course, a higher price tag. But the most popular one is the GLE 350 right there. That one has the sport package, so it has a little bit sharper, more muscular look. That's where you get those diamonds in the grille and the single lamella. Also the splitters in the front bumper, and the way it's all tapered and put together, very muscular, sexy look. Again, LED lamps, you're going to find that on everything. That one sits on the AMG multi-spoke wheels. If you look down the side, you have the more flaring rail down the side of the car. Okay, oh, there you go, hallmark right there on the mirror, the turn signal that's been mounted up there on a Mercedes since I think 1996, I think. Move it up so people can see it. The flaring fender arches in the back, so that gives the car a wider hips, more of a, again, muscular look. The way the bumper is tucked in underneath, and the pipes are all wrapped in chrome. And of course, the protector, the chrome protector band right there on the back, where you would be loading cargo in and out. So it just gives the car a sharper, more muscular look.
Mm-hmm. Muscular is definitely a great word to describe it.
Car almost looks like a sports car, huh? It's pretty cool to be a big SUV and kind of look like it should be a sports car. I mean, it's pretty amazing what they're able to do with that AMG line styling. Like from the wheels up. It's definitely something too. Like I know Scott mentioned about like the lights. If you look at even how they're styled and everything, it's kind of like a coupe tail light. So you kind of have like the coupe styled lights, the two-piece light assembly that you see there. It's all kind of like from a design language standpoint, Mercedes really trying to encapsulate that sort of car styling. And one of the things that I love about this size is this is where you really notice with Mercedes the idea of not building these on a ladder frame. So if you go back a little bit into like how Scott was talking about like the ML and the earlier generation GLE, something that's really changed a lot over the years is how these bigger SUVs with this brand drive like cars. You are up a little higher, of course, but you basically have a car-like platform here. You actually have a monocoque platform, which is essentially the same concept as what we have with our cars, kind of like what you see with like race cars. And that's actually a little bit how we kind of gain that technology, is by basically building an SUV from a structure standpoint, almost like it's a race car. So when you do that, not only can you build some of these cars the way that we do with AMG to make them go extremely fast, but just to make for a much more fun vehicle on the road. If you're after a larger midsize or even the full-size version with the GLS that drives kind of car-like, that's one of the exceptional things about these vehicles. It does not drive like it's a school bus. This is the vehicle where if you want to make a U-turn, if you want to take a turn, I mean, if you have a corner coming up and you're, going faster than you realize, which is pretty easy to do in a Mercedes, and you're trying to corner at 60, 65, 70 miles an hour, that's the kind of stuff you can actually do with these SUVs, which is pretty darn impressive, and something that, in a lot of vehicles, you're going to feel an awful lot of body roll.
Anthony, I don't want us to tell on each other, but do you remember the first demo version of this car they gave us in the sport package, that gray one?
I think so.
You remember that car? We all took it home?
Yeah.
We all, well, you get to play with the toys. Come on. And here's the thing here at this particular store, Bud Smail Motorcars, we're not just salesmen, we're all enthusiasts. We like the cars. We are car people by nature, and we all took a turn with it. I live over in Cambria County, up over the mountain and everything else, and I did not take it easy on it, and I'm a sedan driver by my nature, and it never once disappointed me. It was never too compliant or gave me that feeling of that little bit of shakiness that you can get with a higher framed vehicle. Not once. The monocoque construction, the way the suspension's put together, it will do whatever you ask it to do, and it's kind of like the whole line from Oliver. A little bit more, please. It asks for more, and you can give it to it. It will never disappoint you the way it performs.
Dual 12.3-inch digital displays. Looks like a spaceship. It's pretty awesome. That's usually the first thing that kind of catches everybody's attention. Yeah, you got two 12.3-inch displays in there, so that's a huge piece of glass.
Wow.
Definitely kind of stands out. One of the first vehicles to kind of go in that direction from a center console style, which is pretty awesome. You have to show off that sunroof too there, Brian. It's pretty awesome. So our roofs for a lot of years now with the panorama roofs have been all glass, which is kind of another one of those engineering things that you find with Mercedes. But the roof the pano roof's 50% larger on the GLE and GLS, which is pretty amazing. It's something that you definitely have to see. It's definitely makes for a really cool open cabin. I actually kind of like that this is a black interior, so you can show off how open it feels even though it's a darker interior.
And
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to add to something Anthony was saying. In the previous generation, there was a roller there in the middle. It had two rollers that would pinch from the middle and open up like this, in case you wanted to close the sun blind. This doesn't have that. The whole thing is open except for that seam there, when you have to have that for the two pieces of glass to fit.
Wow, that's just, even from the back seat, you're getting all this natural lighting. Like how Anthony said, it opens up the vehicle so much.
A couple of little things to mention, just again, equipment. This is standard across the line. You have rain sensing windshield wipers. You have the automatic headlamps that turn themselves on at night. You want to worry about turning your headlights on. Of course, a wonderful little device that came out 10 years ago called Attention Assist. It monitors 64 different driving aspects of your position in the car, what you're doing. You might think you're just going down the road, but your body is reacting differently. And if it thinks you're getting tired, it'll throw a message on the screen that suggests you take a rest. And I know we talked about it when we were talking about the GLA previously, but it's been a standard feature on all of our cars since 2015. And that's standard forward collision mitigation. And that thing will if it senses there's something in front of you, some immovable object, another car, whatever, it's going to give you a warning, a little beep beep, red triangle on the dash. And unless you intervene by hitting the brakes or turning the wheel, that car is going to stop you. It's going to stop you dead. And I've had reports back from customers it happening at speeds as fast as 85 miles an hour. Amazing.
One of the
Wow.
cool things that changed too, GLE and GLS specific, so anything really this size and larger, is when they redesigned them, and something that we can probably point out too is in the back seat.
Sure.
The back of the car grew a lot, like a ton. So one of the big things that you notice is the back door on this is a lot bigger than the old generation. Those seats are back pretty far, and that is a huge back seat. Something Mercedes for years and years and years did not want to do was put a third row in the GLE, because they for years felt it was going to be basically a kid's third row. It wasn't going to be ample for adults or folks over a certain size. Maybe it wasn't going to be safe enough, etc. They finally got a big enough row in this GLE to where now they offer a third row. So it is offered because of how much space you have. If you have it, the one in the showroom does not, but if you do, you actually gain a second set of electronics on the door panel like we've seen on the front rows. And you then have a full third row as well, which actually can turn that GLE from a 5-passenger to a 7. They also added the ability now on the GLS, because of that change, to offer it not only as a 7-seater, but as a 6-seater. So you can do captain's chairs now, also with those separate seat controls on the GLS, which is pretty awesome. Those were both pretty big changes, and they both happened with the redesign for 2020.
One of the things that Mercedes-Benz will always do is listen to the customer. They will take feedback, and whenever they do a new model, and it is a new model, like this particular car and the one before it have different chassis numbers. They're different cars from the ground up, but they will listen to the customer feedback. And what was the customer feedback before, Anthony, about the back seat of the GLE? It's too small. So it really wasn't, but for some people it was. So they made that door 4 inches longer, giving you 4 more inches of space in the back, and the cargo area, even if you don't take that optional third row, is a lot bigger by about 3 inches. So overall, the car is 7 inches longer than its predecessor, and you can tell that immediately when you walk up to it. So much more interior space, which is becoming one of the things that people just demand anymore. They want a larger car.
Mm-hmm. Just a quick reminder for everyone watching before we move over to the E350, please comment throughout this video. Scott and Anthony are here to answer any of the questions that you have on anything that we're showing. Just reminding everyone at home. But anything else that we should know about the GLE 350?
Come in and drive one.
Yep.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, really.
Seriously, it's pretty funny, but it's one of those and I can honestly say that with a lot of our cars. I mean, it's one of those things with this brand where a lot of the value can't be just shown. A lot of the value has to be experienced, and definitely something that I think you're going to notice throughout the lineup, whether it's the smallest size or the largest size. You really have to kind of take it out on the road and experience it to really kind of understand what the brand is all about. I think especially with sizes like this, the GLE and the GLS, it's staggering how it drives until you actually drive it. There's a reason a lot of folks drive this vehicle and can't believe how different of an SUV experience it is, because of how car-like and kind of riding and handling as if it's a car, just by giving you all this space, all this room throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And he's absolutely correct about that. We can talk about paint colors, we can talk about techie features all day long, but what really makes a car? What is luxury? It is how the car rides and drives and how you feel in the vehicle, whether you're a passenger or a driver. That's what Mercedes-Benz is all about. People always say your cars are so expensive. Well, no, they're really not. If you think about it this way, starting right around $40,000 and all the way up, but in any single size point and price point, you actually can spend more money on a vehicle, but you're not going to get a better quality car. And ride and drive does mean a lot. So if somebody looks good to you, you can give any of us a call here, make an appointment, or just come in the door and we'll show you, and you'll be like, no, I don't want to drive it. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Give me a license. I'm getting a plate. We're going for a ride. Okay. Because it does make a difference. And we don't share our platforms and technology with other brands, because it's all Mercedes-Benz. There is no junior Mercedes-Benz brand or a senior Mercedes-Benz brand, like between, I want to say anybody, but like between domestic brands. It's all Mercedes. There's no lesser brand in the family.
I know throughout my life driving different makes of cars, there is nothing like driving a Mercedes. You're right. Once you get behind it, it's a feeling and, a feel for it you have to drive to know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go ahead and move along to the 2021 E350.
Motor Trend Car of the Year, the E-Class. They really did a hell of a job. I think maybe one of the most amazing things, and I'm sure Scott's going to touch on it too, is for a lot of us here, I don't want to say we're surprised, but the funny thing
we
is
are.
This car didn't actually get redesigned. It was actually a refresh. So this just goes to show how great the E-Class already was. Just about every time you see a vehicle win something like, Car of the Year, Truck of the Year, if you even look at the other contenders of this year that won in the other segments in the last couple of years, they were all brand new vehicles. They were vehicles that weren't even out yet. They were vehicles that were totally new. Folks are going to have to kind of try and determine over the next couple of years how much they still like the vehicle. This is a core model of this brand. The E-Class is really kind of the central point in a way. If you look at our brand as a whole, from a size standpoint, from a price standpoint, just everything you can get within the E-Class range. And it was only a refresh, and yet it won Motor Trend Car of the Year. And it wasn't just this car. It was the entire class. So this is an E350 sedan that we're looking at on the floor. You can get so many different variants of the sedan, of the coupe, of the cabriolet, of the new all-terrain, which is the new version of the wagon. And it's the E-Class that is Motor Trend Car of the Year. So it really says, I think, a hell of a lot about the brand, being that we're building such a great car, and that, to make some minor changes can still be Car of the Year is awful impressive.
Right.
And that's the thing that makes this whole thing so impressive. To begin with, this particular generation of the E-Class, the W213 chassis was introduced in 2017, and the auto writers, you remember, Anthony, really weren't that crazy about it. And if you read the article again, I have it right here. They went, and I was reading it again last night to get more familiar with it. The changes we made in the suspension, the styling, everything else, it's just astounding what a difference those two are, particularly for a refresh. You look at the styling there. Again, you've got the diamonds on the grille, which you've seen in some of the other models. One thing we didn't ever mention styling-wise, if you could pan up a little bit for us, Brian, now the power domes on the hood. Those long cylindrical lines on the hood, those are called power domes. You saw them on the GLE. They're on the GLA too. But those go back, there's always a little heritage throwback with Mercedes-Benz. Those go back to the original 1954 Gullwing SL. And we're including it in this car too. So you can look at this, the way that ties into the hood. You've got the standard wheels on there too, the way the front bumper hangs nice and low and gives you, again, a very muscular look. The car just looks powerful. It has a certain presence to it.
It's always been kind of something great about the E-Class, is that kind of sort of understated luxury. I mean, it's really designed to be kind of that tying model a little bit, where if you look at our C-Class size, it's smaller. If you look at our S-Class size, it's larger. The S-Class will always be the flagship, but the E-Class is kind of a little bit of the torchbearer that you see year after year, generation after generation. They really focus heavily on this vehicle to always be something special, always really show off a lot of the capabilities. Like Scott was touching on back in 2017 when the new E had first come here to the States. And when the E-Class was redesigned, some of the things that you definitely found from a kind of overall car market standpoint was, for example, this was one of our first sort of larger sizes to feature a starting point of a 4-cylinder engine. This is something that now over the last couple of years we've seen every manufacturer do. And again, with us kind of being one of the first to do something like that, sometimes it can be hard to be first in respect to, everyone's not really used to it yet, or kind of necessarily knows if they're ready for it. And I think Mercedes has kind of come to the forefront of showing off, here's what we can do with engine technology. Here's what we can do with fuel efficiency. Here's what we can do with some of the new safety. I mean, when the E-Class came out in 2017, like some of the new safety features that they had touched on, and it's still things that aren't offered on so many manufacturers and still aren't common. And again, this was like 4 years ago. So, I mean, this is something where, Benz being kind of at the forefront of doing these things, and here they are already doing a refresh on this car. So it just goes to show how ahead that Mercedes always tries to be. It's definitely not a brand that you ever see that gets behind.
Mm-hmm.
They always want to be kind of ahead of the curve, always offering a lot of different variations, always kind of giving something for everyone, and again staying ahead of what the future of the technology is going to be.
Mm-hmm. I have kind of just a general question.
Sure.
What would you say is the fastest car that Mercedes-Benz has?
Ooh.
Well,
Well,
one of them is actually this car, just with a different engine in it.
that's
You
true.
think this one?
That's true. The E63 has a hand-built V8 engine, assigned by the engine builder with it does 603 horsepower. What's the 0 to 60 on that, Anthony? You're more of a 0 to 60 guy more than I am.
You know, that's one of those ones where Mercedes advertises it in the low threes, around like a 3.2, and then Motor Trend gets their hand on the cars and says it's somewhere in the 2.8s and 2.9s range. So when you're in supercar territory with 4 doors and all-wheel drive, it's pretty impressive, especially when you look at how much all that extra weight is. You know, and the fact that they're still building an ultra high performance supercar with the same platform as what you see here with a 4-cylinder. So it's pretty awesome. I mean, you can get so many different versions, really with every vehicle that we make. I mean, you can go, you know, whether you talk about like the A class that we started with, up through to the E, and of course with the S class. I think the E is one of the best examples of that. Scott, like you can touch on how many different versions there are. I mean, it's amazing how many different versions of this one car.
Okay. In the sedan, there's 4 different engines. Of course, this makes 4 technically different models. Actually, we can go further than that because some of them don't necessarily come in all-wheel drive as a standard feature, so that creates more sub-models. This is the E350. This has the turbocharged 4-cylinder with a 9-speed transmission. Does 255 horsepower. Okay, 255 out of a 4-cylinder engine. Wow. You can feel it. The car is not a slouch. It is not Weird Uncle Harry's Tercel from 1977. Then the next one up is the E450. This is a turbocharged V6. Next one beyond that, now we're getting into the AMG variants. That would be the E53. Now, the E53 has a straight 6-cylinder engine with a small electric motor between the engine and the transmission. And this is a whole new concept in power. What that little electric motor does for you. What is it, Anthony? 48 volts?
Mm-hmm.
What that does for you, it eliminates turbo lag on that straight 6. It also eliminates the need for belts and alternators. So that actually, by not having those belt-driven elements under the hood, actually those rob you of power. So it's more direct power to the wheels, and actually increases your fuel efficiency. And that 53. What is it, 429 horsepower, Anthony?
And that's the amazing thing with the EQ boost, is giving you the extra power. So with that 429 figure, that doesn't even include the extra power that you're getting with the EQ. It gives you 184 pound-foot of torque instantly. I mean, you have all this access to power as soon as you put your foot down, and that's before the turbos even kick in.
And that's more power than a V8 was doing 10 years ago. And then for the ultimate, if you just want the ultimate sleeper 4-door sedan that you can smoke anything with, except for maybe an S63. That's the E63. That has the AMG hand-built V8 engine. Again, that's a bi-turbo, and that car does 603. If you want to have a little fun, you can go onto YouTube and look up the original E63 commercial voiced by John Hamm from Mad Men. There's an edit on there that you'll chuckle at whenever you go through it. It never made it to regular television in the States, but there's an edit on there that's kind of fun when they demonstrate what that car is really all about in a city street. So that's just, now we just talked about four variants of a sedan. Then you start getting into the coupes. And how many coupes are even available to buy anymore? You know, just try finding a 2-door car anywhere. You get the E450, that same power plant as a sedan. Then there's the E53, so you can get a 2-door car with either the turbocharged V6 or step it up to the AMG variant, the bi-turbo straight 6 with the EQ boost. Or you can get it in a convertible, the same engine choices in a drop top. I mean, there's very few convertibles that are available anymore, especially a large convertible where people can actually sit in the back seat. And those are both amazing automobiles. And then there's the whole station wagon aspect of it.
The all-terrain.
Yep, the all-terrain. That's
cool.
an amazing car too. Absolutely amazing car too.
Definitely some things you have to talk about when you think of the performance, and Scott already kind of touched on them both a little bit. There was kind of with Mercedes. So for a lot of years now, AMG has been kind of the acronym and kind of the word that you think of when you think of the performance with Mercedes-Benz. Something kind of big up and coming and that you're definitely starting to see more of is the EQ. And that was definitely something with the EQ boost that you heard Scott mention on the 53s, that ISG that sits between the engine and the transmission gives you that extra power. These are two kind of names to pay attention to in the world of Mercedes. And over time, you're going to see more and more of kind of a combination in there of having the AMG and the EQ. AMG for a lot of years has been kind of the performance tuning arm of the brand. You see it from the bottom to the top. I mean, it's throughout the entire lineup. You can do S-Class AMG vehicles. You can do the GT supercar line that Mercedes has in 2-door and 4-door variants. You can do our smallest sizes in AMGs. The GLA that you first saw, I mean, they offer A-Class AMG vehicles, putting out almost 400 horsepower out of a 4-cylinder engine. You have 600 plus and soon to be 700 plus horsepower engine cars that are 4-liter V8s. You know, these are engines that used to have to be 6.2 and larger motors that were horrible on gas, that didn't even have the power that the 4-liters have. And soon coming to the C-Class, there's going to be smaller 4-cylinder high performance motors that are going to be putting out over 500 horsepower. The only way that this is possible is with that addition of the EQ. So you have electric power and you have the gasoline power, and this is something really, really awesome to see. And a lot of the technology comes from some of like our racing divisions. You're going to see this firsthand if you look at like Mercedes-AMG's race team, the current 7-time consecutive Formula One World Championship Mercedes-AMG race team. A lot of dominance, not only on the track, but with a lot of the technology. And that's a big thing that's kept Mercedes at the forefront, both in racing and has kept them at the forefront in the passenger car tech. So something that you're going to find is this balance of having that AMG power that used to just be, you know, old school, big engine in a luxury car. And now it's combining it with the EQ boost and the electric technology. We're going to have unbelievable fuel economy figures from here on out with the performance, which is pretty awesome. So it's definitely going to be exciting to see moving forward how much power they're going to get out of these cars with smaller and smaller engines.
And the other aspect that we were hearing about earlier in the week, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have some full electric vehicles, full EVs out that are going to be complete door stoppers. I mean, real door stoppers. I've seen some of the pictures of these cars, and they are absolutely stunning. And the best part about them is they're going to be full EVs with the quality. I'll say it again, the quality of a Mercedes-Benz. So you're not to worry about door panels not fitting together and things falling off like some of the other EV manufacturers that are out there that cost a lot of money too. It's going to be an exciting time, and I can't wait to get my hands on one of those.
I'm going to just reminding everyone as we're starting to wrap up here to continue to comment and like the video. If you guys comment even after we're done being live, either Scott or Anthony will get back to you. Any kind of final remarks that we wanted to make, either of you? Any like farewells or?
Come in and drive one. No matter what your price point, we have something for you. And even if a brand new car is not something you like, the Mercedes-Benz Certified Used program is amazing. Unlimited miles warranties and, you know, price points on 3-year-old cars off lease, probably very high 20s, low 30s. There is no reason to not have a Mercedes-Benz if you want one.
Come check out everything that Mercedes-Benz as a brand is about, and come check out everything that Smail Automotive is about as a company. Definitely a great, I think, marriage of, you know, having a phenomenal vehicle and then trying to provide the best customer service possible.
Come on back into the store. Oh, sorry.
Nope, sorry, go ahead.
Come on into the showroom and check out our staff and Scott and Anthony and drive some of these great cars. And like Scott said, the certified pre-owns we have special deals on those for the rest of the month too. So we hope to see you soon. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been the 2021 Bud Smail Motorcars Virtual Auto Show. We'll see you guys.